Today we're going to be talking about the DUNU Vulkan 2. Let's get into it. In typical DUNU fashion, the build-in accessories are excellent. Metal shell, feels nice, looks nice. Nozzle is 6.3 millimeters at its widest point. Might be a little bit big for some of you. Me personally, not an issue. My ears are rather large. But yeah, I think these look rather nice. Ear hooks are comfortable enough. The cable does have the tiniest bit of memory. It's not enough to bother me, but it is enough that I should note it, let you guys know. Still curls up nicely, as you can see. Again, accessory package. It's just excellent. Like, DUNU is top tier when it comes to accessories. The only thing really missing here for me personally is foam tips. Yeah, other than that, like they give you 1, 2, 3, 4 styles of tips to choose from. An interchangeable termination that, in my opinion, is the best interchangeable termination on the market. 3.5 and 4.4, as well as a 1/4 inch adapter for the 3.5. Polishing cloth, little pouches to protect the shells while they're in the case, cleaning tool. Like, again, there's not much you're left wanting with the DUNU accessory package. They are just excellent. I like the case, personally. You got a magnet that keeps it closed. It's not pocketable, like it is a larger case, but for me personally, this is the type of case I actually like to use. Yeah, again, not much to complain about. Maybe include some foam tips. Like, that is the only thing I'm left wanting. Like, and even then, most of y'all don't like foam tips. Me personally, I love them. They're just my thing. I don't know. I get the best seal, the best comfort with foam tips, so I got tons of them laying around. I just threw some foam tips on here. Yeah, so building accessories, I'm gonna give this a solid pass. DUNU, they just know what they're doing when it comes to building accessories. Like, seriously, top tier. They are like the company to beat when it comes to this type of stuff. Anyways, let's talk about the sound. So, with this IEM, it has an interesting kind of coloration to the sound. The bass is present, but it's not overly like there. It's not like it's like really taking charge of the mix. It is a supporting role to the sound. So it is, if you're someone who doesn't love a ton of bass, this is a good option. Like, it is very clean, very clinical, like super sterile bass. Again, a lot of you are going to really like that type of sound. Now, when I say it has some coloration, it's interesting because, like, it's not enough coloration that this sounds off. Like, it doesn't sound like a bad IEM. I would say this is a well-tuned IEM overall. It's not necessarily to my preferences, but my preferences are a little bit weird. I like a lot of bass and not a lot of upper mids. When you look at the graph, you can kind of see what I'm talking about with how much this is tilted in the mids. The upper mids are the focus of the show. However, it's not a shouty amount. That's what makes this IEM interesting, because usually when the upper mids are like the star of the show, usually I find the IEM quite shouty and I don't like listening to it. This IEM does it in a way that I think is tasteful. Yeah, it has a bass scoop. Like, it has that like lower mid, like bass tuck, that kind of scoop there. But that's also what's lending to that clinical, sterile kind of sound that a lot of people are going to like. And then, yeah, it's like the upper mids are the focus. It's like, that is what I'm hearing the most. But again, it's not like shouty. It's not overbearing. It's like, it's just tasteful. When it comes to the treble, personally, I did find that the DUNU S&S tips were a little spicy for me. But when I use foam tips, I actually like the treble presentation. I found it to be rather decent and enjoyable. Overall, I actually kind of like listening to this thing, even though, again, it's not to my preference. It's something that isn't bad. It's actually quite good, and I think a lot of people are going to like it. Now, who is this for? Again, I think it's for those who don't love lower mids and thick bass. Now, that's a lot of you out there. So it has this kind of, I don't know, this kind of thinness there that a lot of people like. And then if you like your upper mids, but you struggle with like how much of a boost there is in a lot of these IEMs, because it's one of those things where, like, yeah, when you want an IEM with good upper mids, it's hard to find one that, you know, isn't like shouty and harsh. It's very interesting. It is surprisingly interesting, because looking at a graph, I would expect myself to not like this at all, just because of, you know, like my preferences and everything, but I don't mind listening to this. I actually think it's a good listen. It's just an interesting, tasteful way of doing it that isn't overbearing. So if you're one who really likes their upper mids, like I found that guitars sounded like the overdrive tone on electric guitars. It was super forward, and like I could very clearly hear that kind of tone coming through in the mix. That's what kind of, you know, really stood out to me with this IEM, is electric guitars with overdrive. It's super interesting. Bass guitars weren't really my thing with this IEM. Me personally, when it comes to bass guitars, I like a little bit more of that filled in lower mids, upper bass kind of range. But when it comes to like electric guitars, overdrive, that kind of sound, like these were surprisingly fun and surprisingly enjoyable. I was having a good time with that. Vocals were, again, quite clear, but not shouty. Like it's an interesting way they did it, because again, normally with an IEM where upper mids are more like it has that tilt, I have troubles listening to a lot of IEMs with that kind of tilt, but they did this in a way that it doesn't actually come across as like ouch, you know. Like, so vocals were enjoyable, like they were very clear. They were what were kind of forward in the mix as well. Cymbals with foam tips, I actually really like the sound of cymbals. With the DUNU SNS tips, I was having some sizzle there that wasn't quite to my liking, but so it is like a tip dependent treble. Like, you're just gonna have to play around and find which one you like, and luckily they give you 4 style tips to choose from, so you kind of have to go through them, figure out what works for you personally when it comes to seal and like how it responds to your ears. But yeah, overall I think this is a pretty decent IEM, and it sounds rather good, given that I was not expecting to overly enjoy it, given like just looking at the frequency response graph. And the accessories, man, DUNU knows what they're doing when it comes to accessories. I wish every company could just take a page out of DUNU's book and like do this, where you're left not really wanting for anything. Like, you buy the product and all you need is a dongle and you're good to go. That's what I like to see when it comes to like build and accessories. So DUNU has, like, you just keep doing what you're doing. I think you're on the right track when it comes to like how you're starting to tune things. Like, I think like overall this is a good package. I can recommend it if you're one of those types of people who like your upper mids and you're not a big fan of thick bass. This has that clinical sterile bass with clear upper mids but not shouty. Yeah, when it comes to EQ, personally, what I did, I just kind of dipped around 1.5 kilohertz a little bit, and that got me where I wanted to be for overall tonality. Mind you, I could put countless hours of EQ into any product and I would then get perfection, but that's not the goal here. I just want to, play around and see what I would change personally. When it comes to this IEM, I would just, take a little bit out of that 1.5K, but maybe that's also its charm, that's what will make this IEM maybe stand out for a lot of you. Like, this isn't it's this weird mix where it's not new meta, but it's not really not like, it's an interesting sound that isn't overly offensive. It's just very upper mid focused, and that's what a lot of people like. So anyways, overall, would I recommend this IEM? Really depends on your preference. You gotta understand, like, the IEM is like every IEM, it has its audience. This IEM, I think, definitely has a good audience out there. I think a lot of people will like it. I don't necessarily love it when it comes to some rock tracks where I like to listen to the bass guitar, but I liked it for a lot of tracks that were, just electric guitar focused, vocal focused. I like that. Piano, that was pretty nice. So all those, you know, instruments that are living in the mids, doesn't require a ton of bass. I think it's an excellent choice. My only kind of criticism, and it just again comes down to personal preferences, I personally like a little bit of that upper bass, lower mids. I like that filled in a little bit. It just gives me a little more of that rhythm section, you know, that feel that makes me want to dance. This IEM doesn't make me want to dance in the same way as like a lot of IEMs do, but it does sound good. And again, my nitpicks about the sound are preference based. It is not something that's like, no, this is a poorly tuned IEM. I don't think it's a poorly tuned IEM. I think it's a well tuned IEM with a good accessory package. And if it's what you're looking for, I say go and get it. Because yeah, DUNU is really one of the best when it comes to accessories, and a lot of their IEMs I truly enjoy. Like, they have my favorite dynamic driver IEM right now, the Kima 2. That is my favorite single DD IEM. I also love the DUNU Da Vinci. Love the DUNU Da Vinci. It is one of the best IEMs out there, in my opinion, for my preferences. It has that thick bass, not a ton of upper mids kind of thing. Overall, DUNU is just, they're doing it right. And I think this is one of those IEMs that it's going to have an audience out there and people are going to like it. It's just a matter of, is that you? You got to make that choice for yourself. Again, me personally, it's not to my preferences, but it's an IEM that I can appreciate and enjoy for what it is. So if you have any questions for me, leave them in the comments down below. Like, comment, subscribe, and until next time.